The topic I want to talk a little bit about, and we're still talking about memory construction errors here, and the research that I was talking about with the automobile accident is pictured here, and how people actually responded to it. But one of the things that comes out and becomes one of the more contested topics, controversial topics, is the topic of false memories. And I will tell you, from having worked with sexually abused people for as long as I have, that we really had to be very careful about this topic, because a lot of people who are come up with accusations of abusers because of a memory that they have oftentimes gets accused of having a false memory. And part of the problem with therapy is that we're not really investigators. We're only people that are trying to help others recover from an abuse situation. And so essentially there are things that come into play that are key to understanding false memories, and we have to be very, very careful with the kind of questions that we actually ask. A couple different concepts that fall in here is the idea of source, what we refer to as source amnesia, and essentially we lose sight of where we actually heard something, or where exactly the memory itself occurred. And source memory essentially is attributing to the wrong source an event we've experienced, read about, or imagined. And this is one of those areas where somebody will say, I heard that. And they don't know where they heard it. But it becomes part of the narrative, if you will, of memory of people that are listening. And so they gloss past this, I heard that, and the person has no recollection of where they actually heard that, and but it still becomes part of the overall narrative itself. So source amnesia is one of those things that are very much a part of that. The key person who was important in exploring false memories is a lady by the name of Elizabeth Loftus, and she has done a lot of research in the area of false memories, and has gone so far as to show that she can actually implant a false memory, and I will include a video for you to watch about it in terms of her research. And essentially what she found is that she could create a false memory just simply by giving a person 4 or 5 stories that she says other family members remember, and the person then incorporates it into their own memory, and essentially begins to embellish it of an event. And they begin to embellish it to make it their own, when in fact, essentially, it never happened. 2 of the stories would be fabricated, 2 of the stories would be real, and the person, and 2 real, 2 fabricated. And this particular poor guy actually gravitated to the fabricated stories and swore that indeed they happened when indeed they didn't, and multiple witnesses conferred with that idea. So there are a number of things that are key to remember when we're talking about false memories. And Elizabeth Loftus, like I said, she's a lady who you will hear plenty about. There's a couple key things, or a number of things that your book mentions, that I want to just highlight for you. First of all, nobody is going to deny the fact that sexual abuse happens. We have story after story in the news, and so it's not necessarily the fact that we're denying that it actually happens. The second point is that forgetting also happens. And one of the key things that I've had difficulty with when I've talked to therapists is that they have a very poor understanding of how memory is constructed and also how much forgetting occurs. And without an understanding of that, they have a very faulty understanding of how memory is pulled out, if you will. And so the whole idea of recovered memories is another key concept that is controversial. How people go about recovering a memory is really quite important. And having a clear understanding of how memories can be constructed, we have to handle them with a great deal of care. And at least from a Christian context, we have to, what I always said to my clients was, look, I know God is the God of truth. I know the Holy Spirit is the originator of truth. And if indeed this happened, then we will have plenty more than enough evidence, and including witnesses to confer or to agree with and confirm that something like this actually happened. The reality, as I mentioned before, is that before the age of 3 years old, memories are extremely unreliable, simply because of developmentally what will happen. The other thing is recovered memories that are recovered as a result of hypnosis are also very unreliable. Recovered memories with hypnosis is also unreliable. And I had a lot of patients that unreliable. I had a lot of patients who came to us from other programs that tried to recover memories through hypnosis, and we really had a lot of work to do to try to not undermine it, but put it in a healthier context when we're talking about memories itself. So those are just a few that I wanted to underline for you, just to keep you grounded when you hear things about false memories and recovered memories and constructed memories. Now let's turn our attention real quickly just to a few things about how to go about improving your memory.
It's a hot summer's day. You're 8 years old and you're excited. It's the first time you've been up in a hot air balloon. You can see fields below. You feel the heat of the flame. It's something you'll never forget, a memory to last a lifetime. It's certainly not something you'd think you'd done if it had never happened.
Psychologists at Victoria University in Wellington are finding out just how easy it is to implant false memories using digitally altered photographs. There's nothing sinister about what they're trying to do. They're just trying to get to the bottom of how memory works. It's the first time anyone's investigated the power that digital technology has to change what we remember, and the results are remarkable.
It seems like the stuff of science fiction. 30 students are shown pictures of their childhood in a study they believe is about how we reminisce. In fact, it's testing how vulnerable their memories are. This is Jessica. It's day one of the experiment. When she's first shown the fake photo of her hot air balloon ride, unsurprisingly, she has no memory of it.
Tell me everything you can recall about that event. Absolutely nothing.
By the end of the week, she believes she's been in a hot air balloon, but the psychologist knows it's something she's never done.
I think we're all done on the platform.
In fact, she's being deliberately tricked.
What we've been doing is showing people a selection of photographs from their childhood. 4 photographs. 3 of them are true, and 1 of them is fake. So the 3rd photograph in the booklet always depicts a subject and another family member taking a hot air balloon ride.
But they've never actually been on that ride?
No, we know that for a fact. We interview them 3 times over the course of a week, and by the time they get to the 3rd interview, just a week later, half of them, 50% of our sample, believes they've been on a hot air balloon ride.
50% is much higher than Marianne Gary and her team ever expected. Even the students that don't remember the hot air balloon ride believe the photos are real.
We ask family members to give us a photo of the subject that shows the subject clearly from the waist up and hopefully standing next to another family member. So we get a photograph that looks something like this. And we remove everything around that we don't want. We just grab them here and copy them over, and suddenly they're in the picture.
Bit big at the moment, aren't they? They won't quite fit in the hot air balloon.
They're a bit big, so we have to transform them, make them smaller and make them fit. So we end up with something like that.
That looks fantastic. They really look like they're in there.
Over the course of the week, subjects are asked not to speak to their family about the study. Kim asks them to think about the photos every night. By the 3rd interview, their imaginations are starting to fill in the detail.
Picture myself walking onto the balloon as if I was actually there. And I ended up getting a picture of some kind of platform.
I remember looking up at the gas and the balloon proper, so I just sort of remembered stuff like that, and also looking down at sort of the patchwork on the ground because we were quite high up.
Contrary to what we believe, memory does not work like a tape recorder. Our memories are not recorded and stored faithfully in the back of our heads and then played back like on a video recorder. Memories aren't permanent. They're a reconstruction, a blend of imagination and fantasy and things that you might hear about or think about afterwards, and also, like in our case, a photograph.
What kind of implications does this have?
One of the implications is that if you remember something and you report it with great confidence, great detail, and it's very vivid and clear, got a lot of emotion, it doesn't necessarily mean it really happened.
What kind of reaction do you get from people when you tell them this event didn't happen at the end of the week?
Surprise, especially if they believe the event happened. They're also quite scared. Because people, they have a lot of faith in their memories. They think as a child, as an adult, they can remember their childhood quite clearly. And it's a big wake-up call when suddenly they realise their memory's not that reliable. One of the 4 photos we discussed didn't actually occur. So one of them didn't happen. You know which one that is? The balloon one. Yep, the balloon one. Yep.
Well, it's scary, really. A hot air balloon ride is not something you'd easily forget.